How are you today?
I'm doing excellent.
Nice.
Yesterday I just got the contract back from Core Civic, so we are getting ready to launch now.
Girl,
Yeah, so everything's all good there. And this will be great because this is the first time anyone's introduced like a digital rehabilitative program that's video based.
woo.
Yeah, so it'll be great to really fine tune it with Core Civic and then yeah, just keep creating amazing content and putting it on these tablets for the incarcerated community.
Okay, so explain the process. So they've got the curriculum, Core Civic, and
Yes,
then it's going straight onto a non-connected tablet. Is that
yep,
accurate?
correct. So it's only connected to their basically their servers inside the prison. And so now majority of prisons have tablets now in all of and so and then those that don't are working on getting them because it's just what every prison's trying to do now. And it's great because the barriers to in-person programming is significant.
It's
Um,
huge.
yeah. So we get to bypass all of that. I'm excited.
Where are you at in terms of your launch for Winter Circle?
That's what we're doing. We're we just signed the contract, so we're working out some hiccups that we have with their it's called an LTI, which is I think I can't remember what the terminology is, but anyways, it's where we create a clone basically of their learning management system and then we can then upload into their learning management system from our clone. So it's more technical than I know. My business partner handles all of that. Yeah, but it's not on our end, it's on the prison's end. So we're helping them through that and then we're good to go.
And your beta testing or your full launch?
We talked to him about doing a pilot, but he said no, let's just full launch.
This is the
And
LA project?
no, this is all over the United States. It's a bunch of different prisons, yeah.
Well, that's huge.
I know. I
What's the
know.
go live day?
What's that? We don't know yet
What's the
because
anticipated go live?
they just emailed us and said they weren't ready on their end. It said, yeah. So even though we're getting paid and we've already signed the contract, we got to help them through these technical challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe a month.
Did you do any work to get you ready to dabble in LMSs when you were at Microsoft, or is this whole new territory?
Whole new territory, but my business partner happens to know a lot about LMSs. Yeah,
Nice.
and he has a whole team working on it's already built basically the LMS twin. Uh, so yeah, he's amazing. I don't know what I'd do without him.
Good job.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to figure all that shit out.
Oh, it's so many years of legacy system over legacy system over
Yeah,
legacy system, and then it's just like,
yeah,
and there's so
exactly.
many. There
And
used to
then
be just a couple, but there, I couldn't even hazard a guess as to how many versions there are now.
yes. Oh my God, there's so many, so many. And but the good news is there's a program called Idovo, or not a program, but a platform called Idovo where we can launch on their platform and not have to worry about any of the LMSs in the different prisons. So
So it's a platform agnostic.
yeah, because they're already on, so they focus only on rehabilitative programs. And so they're already on all the tablets. They have like a contract with Securus. So I don't know what they pay Securus or if Securus pays them, but they're on all of the Securus tablets. So all we'd have to do is pay Adovo, and then they would launch it across all the Securus tablets, which they're in thousands of facilities. So
Okay, so are we talking about a single course for Winner Circle that they go into, or is it a suite of courses?
it's three pillars, and each pillar has anywhere, I think it's 15 courses in the first one. There are 12 or 14 in the second one, and then the final one, if they're close enough to the gate, they'll have access to vocational trainings. So we just partnered with a company called Mind Edge,
Mhm.
and they are giving us all of their trainings. And there's hundreds of trainings to choose from. So they can get certified before their release and be ready to hit the ground and find a job. And then my business partner also has that scraper, basically, where he scours the internet for fair chance employers that are hiring for those positions and connects our graduates with them.
So that's kind of the next phase is now that we've got the training launched and
Yep.
we've got students learning,
Yep.
learners are learners wherever
Yeah.
they might be.
Yeah.
And then the next step is to actually find employment
Help them
opportunities,
find
right?
employment. Yep. And then after that, we're going to go into staff training. So we want to train the correctional officers on um, finding their whatever their values are, what's important to them, and then also helping them find purpose within the prison system and like how they interact with the and communicate with the inmates and how important that is to change the culture in the prisons and to make a safer environment for everybody. Because a lot of the staff, it's like they come into prison thinking they have to be tough and rough and mean, but it really is just like it's like making a already kind of negative place just even worse. So we're going to go into that and do trainings, and then eventually we're going to open up like halfway houses.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna do it all. We're gonna try to do as much as we can. And I'm excited.
You should be.
Yeah.
You should be. I got off the call with Paul a couple weeks ago, and his comment to me was, how do we get Shelley to a place where she's not one in a million? Which is both a challenge and a compliment to you.
Yeah. Well,
Which,
to me, it just seems so simple because it wasn't until I understood it was just the rehabilitation. It was the programming, and it was the understanding of energy that
no,
transformed
vague.
my life. Huh?
No, I disagree.
Yeah. What do you think?
Paul and I both think you just have a lot of grit and you weren't going to give up.
Yeah.
So in education, there are students that won't learn without you.
Yeah.
And then there is a very small percentage that you can't keep them
Yeah.
from learning.
Right.
You will never be able to disrupt their passion for knowledge.
Right.
You're one of those.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of, I've thought about that too. And what I'm hoping is that when I go into these prisons and I talk about the program and I share my story, that I will ignite that passion inside of them to be one of those learners. That they're going to be like, "Oh shit, there is a different life out there, and if she can do it,
Yeah.
I can do it." Because nobody else is going to speak to them. They're not going to relate to anybody else unless it's somebody that's been in their shoes and is coming in to basically to tell them, hey, look, you guys can do this because, and here's how. Here's the roadmap on how to get there. So we'll see. This is the first. I'm the first of you know of the per I'm the first formerly incarcerated who's achieved this level of success and at a major corporation to go in and try to get them to,
Hey, you knocked them on their heads,
yeah. So we'll see.
which
Fingers
I totally applaud. But
Yeah.
as a researcher, I got to go back into it and I got to say, okay, how did Shelley actually do that?
Yeah.
What makes Shelley the girl, the woman that made it? And I'm sure you've spent tons of time battling that out with yourself. Have you
Just,
ever
yeah,
found a
just
conclusion?
reflecting, trying to figure out that formula because I'm like, well, I need to replicate it.
Right.
Yeah.
What have you found? What do you think? What do you think that you have in common that you can accurately diagnose that they also probably have in common that will allow you a common path to freedom, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the ultimate label because if the incarceration essentially continues post incarceration because you're still trapped,
Yeah, exactly. You're still stuck in that mental
still
prison. Yeah.
stuck. Yeah.
Yep.
And the opportunities, bars, literal bars, keep coming down in front of you. How do you, I mean, there's multiple ways. Do you clear the bars so there are no bars? Or do you make somebody who can get rid of the bars on their own? And I don't know the answer to that. You got
Yeah.
rid of them on your own. You fought hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it too was a higher power that, I went to a treatment center that was faith-based and I connected with God in a way where I literally spiritually felt transformation within my body and my heart and my soul and my mind. And so when I left for prison, because I was in this treatment center while I was fighting my case, I went into the treatment center kind of, well, I did want to learn, I did want to learn a different way of life. And I knew that maybe the treatment center could help, but I was skeptical. But the other reason was because I knew that if I was going to go get through this and, I knew I was going to go to prison no matter what. Like there's no way I was getting out of it. But I wanted to at least see if my higher power would help me.
And were you a person of faith prior to that, or that was a
Yes.
new?
So I was a person, I became a Christian, non-denominational Christian when I was 25, 24 years old. Let's see, in
How old when you
2001,
were arrested?
huh?
How old were you when you were arrested?
36, I believe. I'm trying
Okay,
to,
so there was a period of time there.
yeah, but so I got saved and it was like radical transformation. I went from the moment I gave my life to the Lord and then I walked out of that church, um everything just seemed brighter and I was operating on a very high frequency. I could feel it. I was like a miracle manifester. Whatever it is I prayed for, it was like it happened. Like just everything I prayed for, it was just like given to me. And so I think that was kind of God's way of showing me he's real. Because I know not everybody has that experience, so I don't know why I did, but whatever. I mean, it really solidified for me that there is a God. And then I fell away because God started using me for healing. And it wasn't like I was seeking that out, but he had used me to heal a girl in the hospital that she was on her deathbed. And so I was grateful for that God was using me for that, but to me, it seemed like a huge responsibility. And then I went to go see this healer guy. He is this famous guy who travels around the world and does healings. and he was talking about healing being a blessing and a curse. And he says that everywhere he goes, he has to be careful because he gets death threats because God chooses who he wants to heal. He doesn't heal everybody. So, and people think, oh, if I'm coming to see you and you're a world-renowned healer and
Yeah,
you
it's
just healed,
transactional.
yeah, you just healed this girl in a wheelchair, but you can't heal my mom.
Or
They,
won't. They
yeah,
think it's a won't.
yeah, yeah. So when he said that to me, or when he said that to when he was on stage, not to me personally, but I just knew in my heart God was leading me down this path. Like I just felt it. Um, and I turned my back on it. I said, I can't do this. I do not want to carry the weight of that responsibility. If this is what God's having me do, then I don't want it. And so, and slowly but surely I started, because when you try to go against the Holy Spirit, it tries to veer you back onto track. And so it's like this turmoil that goes on between your flesh and your spirit internally. And so that was what was happening. And then eventually I got really depressed and I started using drugs and to mask it, and eventually tried to commit suicide because I couldn't handle it. And and then I remember the night I tried to kill myself. Uh I said, God, I don't know if you're still here with me or if you hear me, but I can't take this life anymore. And if you are still here and you hear me and you're still with me, then you're going to show up for me and you're going to make it known. And so I tried to kill myself through carbon monoxide poisoning. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was in a very, very dark place. But that's what happens when you turn away from the light. And I was like, and I didn't trust God. I think I was just too new of a Christian that I was scared of the unknown. And so, yeah, so next thing you know, I'm in the car. I had a tube hooked up to the back of the tailpipe and had run it through the car. And I was drinking Jack Daniels and I was passing out. And all of a sudden, there was this bright light in my face, and it was a police officer. And next thing you know, I don't remember the ambulance ride. I remember the police officer opening the door, but I don't remember much of that. I just remember coming to in the hospital room, and then they put me in a mental ward for a couple days, and that was awful. But it took me years to get out of that. Took me years. And it wasn't until I got arrested this last time and decided I wanted to reconnect with God.
My favorite executive coach, Mimi Peak, tells this story.
Yeah.
Mimi is brilliant. She was the top executive coach for Tony Robbins Platinum Club.
Yeah.
She's an amazing, beautiful woman. Law degree, like brilliant.
Yeah.
So she tells it like this. She says, Kim, the world has angels all around us.
Hmm.
They try to get us to do what we need to do, and they try to get us to a place of happiness and peace, and they give us the tools. They show us. They show us straight where to go. And then she said, but Kim, there's some people in this world that are just too dang stubborn to get the hint. Oh, Mimi, where are we going with this, Mimi? And she says, so let me tell you about the Brooklyn Bridge Angel. I don't know if I want to know him. Like, I want to know him. She says, oh, he knows you. She's like, so the other angels come visit the Brooklyn Bridge Angel and report on their charges and say, we're trying. We gave them everything. We gave them all the tools. We gave them all the hints. We showed them. They're just not hearing us. And he's like, all right. So she's like, well, at some point, Kim, you've been too stubborn to listen to all the angels around you. And so they've taken you to the boss. And the Brooklyn Bridge Angel takes one look at you and with a steel toed boot kicks your butt off the Brooklyn Bridge. And it's not fun.
Mm-mm.
It's scary. It hurts. It's awful. But the purpose is to empower and to get you unstuck and into a place where you can be whole again.
Yeah.
Was the arrest your Brooklyn Bridge Angel?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It
What
was.
would have happened if they hadn't stopped you?
I My son might not be here, or he would have been born with birth defects, potentially issue. Yeah, any, I would probably potentially be dead. Um,
That's what the stats say. I mean, not to be,
yeah,
I mean, what I like about you is you just tell it like it is.
yeah,
Statistics are brutal. The statistics are devastatingly
yeah,
disturbing.
yeah, 100%. It wasn't, fentanyl is the big thing now. And I had it was hitting North Dakota at the time. And I was, an opiate user. I was dabbling with heroin too when I didn't have opiates. And it would only be a matter of time before I did fentanyl. And I actually had a friend die. He did fentanyl and died. But I know I would have, especially if I was going through withdrawals. Oh, yeah, he give me that fentanyl right now. And yeah, who knows? Who knows, girl? So my life was saved in so many ways from my arrest. And I look back and I just thank God I was arrested. It was one of the worst and, looking back now, best moments of my life.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day, and this analogy came to me. When my son was very young, well, in high school, his friend dared him to jump out of the trampoline enclosure, see if he could do it. I raised three boys, they're all super athletes.
Yeah.
And
I can see
it
a
would have
boy
been
doing
one
that.
thing if you challenged somebody that wasn't athletic, but super athlete, right? They think it's so funny. It's at the time when social media was just starting. The whole thing is recorded.
Yeah.
And first try, sails over the net that I had bought extra high because I knew I had
Yeah.
idiots for sons that were gonna test all of the physical boundaries of time and space and do dumb things like this. So
Yeah.
I kind of had a warning. And he didn't plan for the landing because he didn't know he'd actually get there. So he's sailing over the top and he lands and he crashed his body. Um, Terrifying.
Mm.
Uh, but he was able to do this because of the gifts that he'd been given and the talents that he'd been given. And one simple miscalculation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you're jumping on a trampoline, however hard you hit the bottom gives you leverage to go up, right? Just laws of physics. Would you say that because you had to be beaten down so far, that's the capacity, that winner's circle?
Yeah. I think everything. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I sure in the heck wouldn't be sitting here on this call with you right now had I not been arrested. My life would have had a completely different outcome. But yeah, everything that I went through is all built that uh,
Yeah.
momentum for me to do what I'm
So one of the
doing.
things that you shared a couple of weeks ago was the power of the stigma that
Hmm.
comes with having been incarcerated, and not just stigma in terms of it's in your head, which is bad enough, but
Yeah.
the reality of the stigma that goes on really for the rest of your life, that you're an ex-con, you're a failure in society,
Yeah.
you're the outcast.
Yeah, that I
um
don't deserve to be a contributing member of
yeah.
society. I don't deserve to have opportunity, which is so
Mhm.
backwards thinking. And it's like, as humans, like we are programmed to think like that
We are.
from early childhood. I always, thought, and people who, well, my dad was in and out of prison, but like I thought people who went to prison were inherently bad people. Like I just did. And I kind of had the same attitude. It's just crazy. But we don't even realize we're programmed to think and feel that way. It's just
Yeah,
it's just part of like the human condition.
it is. And I think that we've had a lot of studies of late on neurology and neurobiology and generational trauma and how it compounds and
Yeah.
creates mental illness, and it creates these these paradigms where the ability to break out of the reality
Hmm.
that you're looking at just feels completely impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's when I got out, that was one of the things that I knew was going to be like my biggest barrier to achieving my dreams. Now remember, I started thinking about wanting to work in tech well before. That was always kind of a dream of mine. And so, before I got released, I started thinking about how I was going to achieve this. And so, I was praying about it every day. I had a prayer journal. I would write it down. It's very specific with God about wanting to work at a big tech company. I was very specific about wanting to have a career. The only thing I wasn't specific about was what type of role, which because at the time I didn't know. I had no idea. But then I was very specific about the amount of money that I wanted to make. And coming from the world that I had come from, to me it was like, oh, if I can make six figures, I'll be rich.
Yeah, that's a funny term.
Yeah, I'll be so rich. Like I can do
I'll have it
anything.
made.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll not have any problems ever again.
Never again. Yeah. If I can just have like $100,000 in my bank account, or
All my problems will
$100,000 in my
disappear.
retirement, then I'll retire early. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and so but I thought about all the barriers. Like, how am I going to achieve this? Every tech company, I'm pretty sure, is going to do a background check. Like, how the hell am I going to get past this? But regardless, knowing that I had God on my side and I was operating at a very high frequency, after I reconnected with God, I
So wait,
spiritually,
I don't want to jump over that. So timeline wise,
yeah,
you're growing up in, would you call it a stable or unstable environment?
unstable for sure. Oh, yeah.
You said your dad was in and out of
In and out
prison.
of
What
prison.
about your mom?
He was an addict. My mom was 19 and I think she was 18 when she got pregnant with me, 19 by the time she gave birth. So she was just a kid.
Okay.
And dealing with my father and he was, cheated on her. He was just not a good husband at all. He was in and out of prison. He was an alcoholic and later became a drug addict. And so she was stuck a lot of the time with just me and my brother trying to figure things out, especially when my dad was locked up. So we had this one family member. She was my great aunt. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know what would have happened. But she would just drop us off at my great aunt's house. My great aunt was older, so we were unsupervised pretty much. We did whatever the hell we wanted. And my mom was not really around. I think my mom's addiction was men because yeah, I mean,
Happens.
every time my dad, would go to prison, she'd find another boyfriend to
Mm.
replace him. And then my dad would get out and she'd get back together with him. And then he'd go back and then she'd find another boyfriend. And it was just like she always had a man in her life. And that's what she really was focused on was her relationship. And I think she had kids too young, wasn't ready for him, and didn't know how to be a mom. And so me and my half brother, because my real father left when I was 2 or 3 months old, went into the military. And so then she met my stepfather, who I call dad. That's the guy who raised me. He was the
Mm.
it's funny because both my dads were in prison. But yeah, so she had a baby with my stepfather and then he raised me. And yeah, but just my mom never poured into my life. I mean, she provided food, shelter, but other than that, she wasn't very much involved in my life. Um, it's interesting to see the way that she is now with my son because she raises my son. And she is
Oh, I
like,
didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, because I gave birth to my son when I was still in the treatment center in North Dakota. And I had gotten sentenced. Oh, and so she came to take my son and make sure he didn't get, put in a foster home and raised
Yeah.
him. And I'm very grateful for that. Um, and so she, raised him all the years that I was gone and they bonded. And he did not want to come back to live with me, even though I tried. My mom and I actually battled it out in court.
That-
Yeah, and she was like, "No, you can't have your son back." And I was like, "Yes, I can." And I ended up losing
I'm sorry.
$100,000 later. Yeah, but it's fine because I wasn't trying to actually take my son out of her life because I knew that was not was what was best for him. But what I was trying to do is get supervised visits because she was very controlling when it came to me getting to spend time with him, which I don't know why. Um, but that was really my goal. And then maybe like reintegrate my son slowly into my life because they have reintegration services that they offer through the courts. Um, and but I ended up losing because my son had been with her for so long that the judge sided with my mom. So,
7 years? Am I remembering
so,
that right?
so apparently there's this law that, so my mom filed for guardianship while I was still in prison behind my back. And I didn't know until
Um,
I got the notice in the mail. And I'm like, "What?"
mm.
So the court date was happening um before my release because I was getting ready to get out. So she wanted to hurry up and apply for this because her and her husband had decided they weren't ready to reintegrate Jason to my life. And I think my mom's very codependent, and so she's, um, very codependent on my son. He brought a lot of healing for her. He's given her purpose. And I think the thought of losing my son she would lose herself.
He's how old now?
He's 10.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's just a little guy.
Yeah. So when I got out, so after the person files for guardianship, there's a clock that starts ticking. And basically, I did not know this, but I think it's like 2 years from the time the guardianship happens. So when I got out, I just had to go to the halfway house and try to get back on my feet. So I was in no position to take on my
Right,
son, right? So it
right.
took me a couple of years to do that. And then as I started gaining momentum in my life and I got the job at Microsoft, then I got promoted and then I started making good money and then I got my own apartment. She decided that she was going to petition the courts to terminate my parental rights.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but I was very angry with her for a while. Didn't understand how she could do that to me or why. But then I had to realize that I was being a victim and didn't want to continue living that because it wasn't going to benefit me nor my son nor my family. It was impacting all of us negatively. The entire court case was awful. And I decided that no matter what happens, because at this point I hadn't lost yet, but I decided that I was at least going to try to see if I could, keep my parental rights. And I ended up losing, and I thought, okay, well, everything happens for a reason. There's something for me to learn in this situation, and I can't let it ruin me. I can't let it harden me. And so I had a conversation with my mom and I said, look, I love you. I'm not happy with what you did. I don't agree with what you've done. But at the end of the day, you're my mom and we've got to figure this out. And I just want you to know that I choose to forgive you and we'll work through this. I just want us to be a family. And I appreciate everything that you've done for my son because you were providing him an excellent life. And I'm like, where the hell was this person when I was a kid? Like,
right.
yeah, she'll go and bake cupcakes for his entire class on Valentine's Day. She goes to every parent teacher conference,
Oh,
I'm just like, I can barely get her to take me to the doctors. But hey, I'm glad that my son's living his best life. He's already been to Italy and
wow.
Disney World twice and Disneyland. And I mean, he's living his best life. He's in every single sport. Her husband's a retired doctor. So
Mm.
his whole entire life is just devoted to Jace and taking him to all his sports practices and games. And I mean, I don't think I could do all that because the demands of working at Microsoft. And so I recognize that. And I'm like, you know what? Jace is exactly where he needs to be. And I get to see him whenever I want, so that's good.
So the thing that strikes me with that is uh, the topic of anger
Hmm.
and forgiveness. And I guess a question. Uh, there's the practical side of it, the skill set, the job opportunities, the training, the support, the wheels to get you where you want to go. The data tells us that there is a mindset that occurs that coincides with anger, and there's a different mindset that coincides with forgiveness and acceptance. One allows you a growth mindset, and one traps you in a fixed mindset. This is Carol Dweck, and it those bars that we talked about, I think anger
Mhm.
is are some of the hardest bars to escape. And
100%.
incarcerated persons have a lot to be angry about. To be
Yeah.
just fair,
And
life has dealt them
justified.
a
A lot of it's
crappy set of cards.
justified, you know? And that's the
Yeah,
hardest anger to get over is the justified anger.
yeah. I mean, where does righteous anger fit?
Yeah.
And where does I got to get over this for my own good and for
Yeah.
everybody around me? And how do you find the maturity
Yeah.
and the humility?
Yes.
Because guaranteed you had to suck down a lot of pride
Yeah.
to
Oh
get there.
yeah. Oh, I so wanted to just hold on to my anger because there's a payoff with that, because I'm
So
justified.
it
I'm
drives,
right.
it
Yeah.
feeds the
Yeah.
adrenaline and the dopamine, and it's like, I can do it. I can
Fuck
beat them. I
her.
can win.
How dare she do that? She's evil.
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I did go there. I did go there. And I was like, "Oh, what am I doing? I got to pull myself out of this. I can't. I can't." I
It's
did enough
expensive.
personal development to understand and know and that no, I can't. I can't go down that path. It's dark. It's heavy. Even if I
Really heavy. It will suffocate you.
yeah, no. And I was like, nope, I choose to forgive. I learned this thing in Landmark. It's like I choose like they'd ask you, what do you like, vanilla or chocolate? And then people had to said what they liked, and then they said, okay, so what's the right choice? And people said what their right choices were, right, and why they thought that. And they said, no, actually, it's both are right. And it's because you choose that vanilla is better and it makes it better. And so it's like you get to choose whatever you want and have that be what it is. You get to choose to love. You get to choose to forgive. And you choose it because you choose it. And that always stuck with me. And I was like, you know what? I choose to forgive my mom because I don't want to live in bondage.
So how does the three pillar program of Winner Circle address the internal obstacles?
Well, going to try to address the internal obstacles, and
Yeah.
for me, it was all about mindset, shifting the perspective um, of their view of their past traumas, shifting the perspective they have on the world, shifting their perspective, teaching them about victim mindset and trying to help them get out of that because people don't know what they don't know. And then it's like they don't even know they're living in this victim mentality. Now, granted, we're all wired to be victims. It's part of the human condition. Even the most, you know, highest vibrational, human beings still fall prey to being a victim. It's just, it is what it is. But at least if you could recognize it, you can get out of it, you know? And so it's,
Well, you can at least see that.
yeah,
I
like,
mean, isn't that
I'm
step
being a
one,
victim.
just
Yeah,
being able to identify the
yeah,
state?
yeah,
And maybe you don't have the tools yet
yeah,
to break out of it, but just seeing it for what it is, I
yeah.
think is difficult.
Yeah, just getting them to see that so they can break out of it. Teaching courses on energy, the law of attraction, and how that works. Because I think if they really understand the power that they have within them, then that will unleash the beast in them. It's like, okay, well, listen, you are a very powerful, powerful human being. And the reason I know this is because I changed my energy and look what I was able to achieve. Now, if you can change your thought process, you can rewire your brain, which will change your energy. And whatever people's idea of success is, It's completely achievable, but they have to get out of the victim mindset. Once they're out of that victim mindset, in my opinion, they start operating at a higher frequency. They really start to see the world in a different light. Um, and so that's the first phase, first pillar of Winner Circle, is really getting them out of that victim mindset mentality, showing them a different world, a different way to think, a different way to be, teaching them different tools that
Mhm.
they've probably never been taught, because it's not like this shit's taught in school. If it was, we'd all be the world would be very different, I think, in my opinion. But and helping them really let go of the past, because really all of our issues in our current lives today usually stem from the past. And our stories, we all create stories about our past, and um, we got to let go of the stories. They don't define us, but we think they do. For example, I got into a fight with my mom one time. I was 12 years old. And I can't remember what the fight was about, but all I remember is her telling me that she hated me and wished I was never born. And so I was taken aback because, 12 years old, undeveloped mind, hearing that from your own mother. I, from that moment on, made up this story that my mom doesn't really love me. And plus, coupled with the fact that she never really spent time with me, that wasn't really invested in my life. So I just assumed she
Yeah,
didn't love me.
evidence. There was
There
evidence.
was evidence, exactly. And so here I am now, as a grown ass adult, thinking I'm unlovable. And, if my own mom can't even love me, how can anyone else love me? And I remember I used to always think, man, when I'd meet new people and I'd be like, they're so cool, but I wonder how long they're going to be my friend, because once they figure out who I really am, they're going to not want to
Yep.
talk to me anymore. Isn't that wild? And I had no idea it all stemmed from that moment.
Yeah.
Or
What's
I mean, part
crazy
of it.
though is if you look at so the research for the kinds of challenges that you had growing up, that's very well covered, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody kind of knows that A plus B equals C, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like
Yeah.
there's definitely patterns that we can see and know that there's a large percentage of people that are going to wind up in a place they don't want to be and they don't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like it's been about 6 months that I did a research project for someone that was looking at the mindsets of uh, youth in affluence. And you would think, just like as soon as I make 100,000, I'm good to go. Uh,
Woo!
so
Yeah.
of course, if you already had the 100,000 and you never worried about where your food was going to come from the next
Yeah.
day, a single day in your life,
Yeah.
you never had to worry about the necessities of life. Surely you
Yeah.
shouldn't have any of these problems, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different set of problems where
Yeah.
I've always ascribed to the cliche perception is reality. So because they see themselves in a position of scarcity, because there isn't
100%.
the other comorbidity, if you will, of those two segments of society is the loneliness and the isolation. They isolate on the bottom rung of socioeconomics because they're embarrassed and they're ashamed and they don't have the tools or the means to get to where their friends are. And so there's this level of shame.
Yeah.
Well, on the opposite side, there's an embarrassment that they've got too much. There's a shame of having too much. There's an inability to be able to know if anyone is your friend because they want to be your friend or if they're
Mhm.
just there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so the ramifications of that are actually very parallel.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
what
yeah.
that to me that what that says is that because you perceive the victimhood, the lower, lesser than you are.
You are what you think.
Yep. Because if all of you, all that you judged your future potential on was the math behind you, you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. Why bother?
Yep. And that's really what my goal is in pillar one is to teach them that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like that. So let's talk nuts and bolts. So you've been very successful in gaining ambassadors and advocates for your programs. Kind of give an update of where you stand there and then kind of what the next phase looks like.
When you say next phase, from what perspective? Like if from a launching perspective, like a growth perspective? Okay. Oh, what was the
Yeah,
first time you said?
like I met Heath
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. I think that partnership is incredible,
I
and
know.
that came with some financial backing,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Which is fabulous. But for you to do what you've laid out to do, that's probably not going to be enough, right?
No, I need money. I need money. I
Okay.
need investors. I need somebody who's mission aligned. That's that. I think that for me is a mission aligned investor. So I'm in this impact accelerator group. And but it's pretty pricey to be in this group. And
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully going to pit by October, I'll be pitching to some investors. Um, but yeah, I'm looking to raise 2.5 million right now.
Okay.
And that's going to help me scale this program, hire some sales, create some more content, and travel. I got to travel to these prisons because I have to speak. I have to tell them about the program and share my story.
Right.
Yeah. So I've got to do all of this. And but we also, what's great is, anybody willing to donate too. There's that ability because Heath has a nonprofit that people can donate through. So donations are always greatly, accepted. But yeah, really, my goal is to transform over 1 million justice impacted lives, to show them the power that they have within them and allow them the possibility to become their true potential and really achieve whatever success means to them and have them operating at a higher frequency. And now that we can do this on the tablets, we can scale this work. And I want to be in every prison, in every facility in the world within 5 years. And I need money to do that. And I need help and resources. So yeah. And then I don't know, we'll see what happens. I I feel very hopeful. I actually, it's like you are what your thoughts are. I inherently feel that somebody will come along.
How will you know that they're the right one?
Intuition plays a part in that. I think I've evolved as enough as a human to be I'm very in tune with my emotions, my feelings, my intuition. I'm not always perfect by any means, but even if the wrong one comes around and I think they're the right one, it's never the wrong one. Nothing in life is wrong. It's just a different path. And um you always get led right back to where exactly you need to be. So it will be we'll see.
How
We'll see
will
what
they know
happens.
you're the right one?
What's that?
How will they know you're the right one?
Um, I think the same way. They have to go with their intuition. They have to think about what are they trying to achieve? What kind of an impact did they see themselves having in this world, because at the end of the day, a lot of investors are already rich. So what do you want to do with that money, and what kind of an impact do you want to make is what they need to, I would ask them, and then based upon that answer and what, if they're mission aligned, then I think it would be a good fit. I mean, I don't know any other way unless we're psychics or we
Okay,
can,
so let's assume
yeah.
that you're mission aligned. What's the business case?
But
So there is not an anticipation that there will be a profit made, or there is.
oh, of course there's a
Are
profit
we
made.
strictly social good and social change, or
Mm-mm.
is there a
No,
business case?
there's
Yeah,
massive
lay out the
profits.
business case.
Yeah, we've got so we charge $50 per person for the program.
Okay.
Yep. And so every prison, most prisons have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 plus inmates.
Okay.
Yeah. So depending on
Who pays it?
the prisons.
So it's a state, most are state prisons, right?
Yeah.
So whatever entity controls the prison uh,
Jails, prisons, juvenile. Yeah,
covers the access
they all
costs.
have budget for rehabilitative programs. Yep.
Okay. Okay. So if you look at that times, let's just do round numbers for 1,000, then per prison, you're at 50,000 in revenues. What are your costs?
Just the initial cost of producing the content and the initial cost of paying the tech team to figure out how to load on whatever LMS system they have. But other than that, once now that the content's created, we can just copy and paste. It's scalable.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So close your eyes for a minute.
Okay.
So when we teach legends, we teach a story formula that I'm going to walk you through. So once upon a time, there was an entire generation that were labeled latchkey children, a subsequent generation that were raised by latchkey children, and they faced enemies in the world in the form of socioeconomic challenge, in the form of increased access and utilization and addiction of substances, and um, challenges that really beat down entire generations. These heroes, chapter 3 is the great hero. These heroes were often painted as not just victims, but as enemies because they really didn't fit. They really didn't have it in them to comply, and so oftentimes they didn't. And when they didn't, there was backlash. And so into their world came essential guides, which is chapter 4. Your great aunt, your mom, to an extent, despite the challenges, she's definitely been a godsend for your son. And in other ways, has given you the resiliency that you have now. And because of that, you've laid a pathway that, by many expert opinions and a lot of data, may be a real solution to be able to allow other members that sit in that group of great heroes who have been knocked off their horses, who have been knocked off their paths, to be able to reclaim themselves. Chapter 6 are the dangers. And this is where I want you to think for a minute and think about what is it that allowed you to reconnect to who you are, to reconnect with a belief system and a growth mindset and never quit that allowed you to take on one of the biggest technology companies in the world and win, that wouldn't make you or them, you will always be an outlier. But what quality is the one
Mhm.
that great heroes have to hold on to in order to make it through and find their success, their happily ever after?
Mhm.
What's that one character item that you think makes the difference between successful suffocation in a car in a garage and triumph? What's that piece?
Or am I
My
thinking?
question. Yeah.
Oh,
What's the
okay.
piece?
What's the piece? I don't know if it's just one piece. I think it's multiple pieces.
Try to find one
Trying to find
that
one
makes the difference. Yep.
mindset.
I think I agree. I think I concur.
Yeah.
Okay, now elaborate on that. You tell the story with you as a guide and them as your hero.
Okay.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
And then what are the enemies? Like where do the people that you're trying to be of service to, what's their
Okay.
story?
Once upon a time, there was a group of people that um, were incarcerated for various reasons, that and their enemy was these demonic that came down to enslave them, but not in the form of a physical, like, but mentally enslave them. And there was a great hero that was a higher power that could free them.
Actually, they are the great
Oh,
hero
they are
who
the great hero.
rely on
Okay.
the higher power.
Yeah. They
Because
they
if we can
realized,
help them think of themselves in a
yeah.
heroic instead
Okay.
of victim center,
Yeah. They realized that they were the great heroes that had the power to break this stronghold that they had through a higher power. And they leveraged the light and broke past the darkness. And what's the next one? What's the central guide?
that is one of them that you mentioned was God,
Yep.
higher
Okay.
being,
So
higher
the
self.
higher being was the
I would
essential
also say
guide.
winner circle and
What?
the people that want to contribute to their new path.
Yes. Yes, the essential guide is the reprogramming of the mind through winner circle, which has created which has transformed their mindset and allowed them to step into a new world, a new path of freedom that they've never experienced before. And
What dangers do they need to be aware of
the
in order
dangers
to
they need
make
to
it?
be aware of is that society may not be accepting of them and their transformation. But to understand that and that it's okay, and do not be defined by that. And being armed with that knowledge will allow them to continue to stay out of the mental prison and empowering them to live a life of their dreams.
So societally, you've done a lot of research on this. What's the payoff if we can transform correction into empowerment?
The payoff, oh my gosh, there's so many payoffs.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify.
Yeah, I mean, the payoff is the biggest payoff, I'd say, is for our communities, because now we're not oppressing people, and we're really allowing them to step into their true potential, and we're supportive of them. Because if people only knew that it's not us versus them, that we're all connected, and that when we oppress people in our community, we are oppressing our communities and we are holding them back. And it's going to create safer communities, because now when these people are given opportunity, they can become contributing members instead of committing crimes. It's going to save tax dollars for all the taxpayers, because it's costly to incarcerate people. So why not rehabilitate these human beings, especially when 95% of them are going to eventually be released? It's absurd to not help them. It just does not make sense to me. Who do we want them released as? The gangbanger drug dealer, or do we want them released as a rehabilitated person with a new mindset, ready to contribute, ready to be a positive member of society, a contributing member? But in order to do that, we have to teach them a new way of life. And we are not our past. And people can change, especially if given the tools to do so. And we have to think about, why be so judgmental towards those that have gone to prison when all of us have made mistakes, and many of us just never got caught. And so if we're going to judge them, well, what about ourselves and the things that we've done? How would we like to be judged for our worst mistake for the rest of our lives, being limited from opportunity? Because nobody's perfect.
So the only thing that I would have pushback there is the statement, we are not our past. I think we are. And
Well,
I
I
think
mean, our
part of
negative.
getting over the stigma is to normalize that.
Yeah, it's part of our
That
story. Yeah.
we are our past, and that has brought us to a new level of wisdom,
Yeah.
a new capacity, because just like the trampoline, wherever we have had to go in order to hit bottom and be
Yeah.
ready, that's our capacity for growth.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think in order for the mindset shift to happen that we're talking about, there has to be an acceptance that this is not I am so devastatingly embarrassed and humiliated by the choices I
Right.
made, and I'm not going to be defined by that. What if we just say, yes, I'm defined by it in such a powerful way?
Yeah.
I learned, I grew, I changed, I shifted, and watch me fly.
Exactly. Yeah. When I say we are not defined by our past. I'm looking at it from kind of a
I've heard it a lot,
yeah.
and it's always kind of hit me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because first, it's not accurate. But second, if you study NLP at all, neurolinguistics,
Mm-hmm.
you'll know that putting not in front of something actually doesn't communicate to the brain.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So if I say, I am not wearing white, well, I am wearing white, and the not
Yeah.
doesn't change it. I mean, that's not the greatest example, but
I got
um,
I like where you're going though.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you add the word not in front of an adjective that you don't, or a statement that you don't like, you actually are telling your brain the opposite of what you think you are. And so it creates this dissonance going like
Yeah.
this inside. So if you're going to make a statement, remove not from it, or
Mm.
negative qualifiers of the fact, especially if there's two ways to look at it. So I would actually say I am my past.
Mm.
I am the accumulation of so many experiences that give me such a depth and such a tolerance level and understanding for people's conditions. And that condition changes in different ways. And
Mm.
it is also self-determined.
Mm-hmm.
There's an opportunity to determine for yourself where your mindset will go, your body will follow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's the only.
I totally see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. I'm
Yeah.
really proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's powerful.
We just need to duplicate. We need to create more Shelleys.
Cloning.
Yes, let's
I've
clone.
always said, can I have just a few clones of me so I can just
Yeah. I
divide
think
and
there's a
conquer?
way. I mean, I think it can be done. And I'm gonna try.
Let's figure it out. Let me know when you have the code.
We got to do something, you know, especially like in-person programming is really the way it's done, but you can't scale that. And then the more remote a prison, the less programming they have. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Let's see what you've done.
Yeah. The journey is
Remarkable.
just starting now.
I know. I know.
I
We
have
always
so
say
much to
get
learn.
get your running shoes on or put
I
your boots and
know.
spurs on and let's go ride.
I know. I know. Whew. Well, I'm super grateful for you, and I'm glad that God's brought you into my life. I know that nothing is on accident. Everything happens for a reason, and I kind of feel like you're going to be a part of this journey with me.
I will tell. It is one of it. I shared with you,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite and least favorite simultaneously.
Yeah.
Uh, I did become very, very obsessed with it as a very young teacher
Yeah.
working in youth corrections, and I was so won over
Yeah.
by their minds and their uncounted capacity.
You've got to come volunteer in the prison with me.
Oh,
Yeah?
easy. You're on.
Okay.
We live
Okay.
with each other. You got it.
All right, perfect. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Okay, I'll send
just
you information on the next volunteer trip.
just keep seeing it and
Yep.
don't let go.
I'm never
It's
letting
gonna
go,
be a
girl.
wild ride.
Dude, it's crazy.
I know. Hold on tight.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, girl. Have a beautiful day.